Welcome to the September 2010 webinar on mobile sites versus apps presented by Usability Sciences. I'm your presenter today. My name is Basanta Tandon. I'm a usability analyst here at Usability Sciences. I've been conducting usability research for around 2 years now. I started out in academia doing user research and publishing findings. I have a master's degree with specialization in human-computer interaction and have been doing a lot of diverse projects here at USC, ranging from usability of mobile phones, shower heads to website usability. At USC, we have been doing this type of research for over 20 years and work almost daily with Fortune 500 companies. These days, the focus is increasingly on mobile usability. Our clients frequently ask us about how to make their mark in the mobile space and share the dilemma with whether to create a mobile website or a native application. In this presentation, we'll try to answer some of these questions. These are some of the topics I'll be going through. I'll start off with the introduction about mobile sites and apps. Then I'll go through the respective advantages and disadvantages preceded by side-by-side comparison between the two. Later, I'll go through some of the common best practices to keep in mind for both mobile sites and apps. Now let's get started. Mobile commerce is on the rise. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. According to Informa market data, there were around 666 million mobile internet users by the end of 2009. Another study estimates the number to jump to 2.13 billion by 2014. In 2008, we came across an important milestone. For the first time, mobile web use exceeded desktop computer-based access. In the first 3 months of 2010 alone, more than 55 million smartphones were shipped. This gives you a rough idea why mobile spaces become so important going into the future. At this point, majority of the people listening in probably already have a website and are probably thinking about creating a mobile presence. Some might even already have a mobile site or an app or both. So to cater the needs for all viewers listening in, let's briefly go through what a mobile website is. It's basically a website formatted for a mobile screen that you load in a browser. Wiki defines mobile web as the use of internet-connected applications or browser-based access to the internet from a mobile device such as a smartphone or a tablet PC. So in essence, it's a website downloaded each time from the World Wide Web and accessible from all web-enabled mobile web browsers. Here are some of the advantages of having a mobile website. A mobile website is guaranteed to work across different platforms irrespective of whether someone is viewing it in an iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, or any other type of phones. As long as the phone is equipped with a web browser capable to view a mobile-optimized website, one would be able to view it. Since mobile site is an extension of the global website within the World Wide Web, the contents are available to anyone with a data-enabled phone and a web browser. And because of this, a mobile-optimized site would most likely reach a broader audience. After all, the internet is the world's biggest free app store. Unlike the mobile apps, one doesn't need to get approval from the App Store for the contents or updates to be released. Mobile site doesn't require a user to download or update new versions because each time one opens the site, all users see the latest version. Also, when done properly, contents from the mobile web is searchable and search-friendly. In fact, a good search engine optimization strategy would most likely increase the traffic volume. And it's easy to drive a potential customer to a mobile web because it's easy to send hyperlinks for websites via an instant message, emails, or any other type of marketing means as opposed to downloading it from the App Store. Now let's go through some of the disadvantages of a mobile website. The biggest one obviously would be that the internet connection is required at all times. And although mobile web is search-friendly, search engine optimization might be required for better performance in the search results. Also, speed and latency must be fully optimized for a mobile-friendly experience. Although relatively cheaper in development and maintenance than mobile apps, it's difficult and costly to maintain good user experience optimized across various devices. There might just as well be a situation where one can see a mobile site perfectly in an iPhone but might not be able to have the same level of experience on other phones. So what is an application or an app? Well, it's basically an application developed to run on a specific mobile platform. Also, download and installation is required for the app to function. Mobile apps like iPhone apps, Android apps, and BlackBerry apps have to be specifically developed for each individual platform. Native applications have several unique advantages. They can leverage device-specific hardware features like camera, GPS, voice to collectively enhance the user experience with an app. Since an app is specifically made to work on a particular platform or device, it's guaranteed to work on it. As the application resides within the device, it's a lot faster than mobile web. However, there are new developments that allows a mobile site to perform comparatively faster. Some or all features can work offline when the user is not connected to the mobile web. And furthermore, an app can be integrated to work with another application. For instance, searching restaurants in the Yelp application would show you the list of possible results in conjunction with the native map application. And above all, with the recent hype about the app mania, once you have an app, you can potentially get a lot of attention. Therefore, from a marketing standpoint, it's potentially beneficial, especially after getting some attention in the App Store, like being in the top 25. For some people, it's way too cooler to refer your friend to go to an app store and download an app instead of telling them to go to www.myapps.com. Now to some disadvantages. Custom application development may be expensive, especially in times when you have to build for more than one platform. One other critical disadvantage is that you have a small set of audience. Even if you just argue that iPhone and App Store has a huge set of users, but until and unless the App Store is truly extraordinary and enough effort is spent on marketing, the app would be amongst thousands of other apps waiting for it to be downloaded. Having just a mere presence in the App Store is not a sure-shot way to marketing bliss. With the recent advancement in mobile technologies, an app would almost definitely need frequent updates. With App Store, you need to get approval for each update, which might take some time and effort. Also, don't forget that any sales you make from an app is shared with the App Store. We'll talk more about it in the comparison section. Now let's compare mobile web with the native app with respect to some of the features we discussed earlier. Before making a decision, here are some of the items that needs to be considered, although not necessarily in a particular order. First, let's talk about accessing device capabilities. With mobile sites, you have limited access to device-specific capabilities. With the introduction of HTML5 compatible browsers, you have access to GPS and gyroscope to a certain degree, but other capabilities are restricted due to security and privacy concerns. However, with native applications, you have full access to device capabilities. Similarly, offline viewing is possible with native applications, while for mobile sites, it's only possible to cache data to a certain degree with HTML5. As far as distribution model goes, mobile sites is accessible to anyone on the internet. On the other hand, with native applications, first of all, developers need to create an app for a specific platform and make sure it gets an approval from the App Store. Then comes the biggest hurdle. Potential users need to download it to the device, which depending on the marketing strategy might or might not get noticed by the user. Mobile sites are compatible with all devices as long as they have web-enabled browsers. However, the experience might be different depending on which device the site is being accessed from. But on the other hand, as the name says, native applications are only compatible with only those devices which it was developed for. As a setup fee, Application Store charges a certain amount as an entry fee ranging from $99 to $299, while there's no setup fee whatsoever with the mobile site. But of course, you need to have a domain name and a space for the site. For any content provider, it's crucial to have full control over your contents, and as mentioned earlier, native applications have to go through approval process in the beginning and after each update, which may take a lot of time and effort. While for mobile sites, developer has full control over the publishing rights since they don't have to go through the approval process. Now let's talk about user experience, where we come into play. We ran a study where we asked the user to go through several tasks in both mobile sites and native applications. One thing that was pretty evident from our pilot study was that the user experience for native application was far better than the mobile site. Since the developer for the native application has close to full control over how the user interface looks like, users tend to like the application better. On the other hand, user experience for mobile sites largely depend on how well the mobile site is optimized to look in a particular device. And it's not just the look and feel. Since application lives in a device, its response time is faster than the mobile web, and with the addition of using device features like camera, GPS, and voice, all of which leads to better performance and in turn vastly improves the user experience. Mobile sites are far easier to support and upgrade. Each time a user enters a URL, the latest upgraded version is automatically accessed, whereas for a native application, this process is long and cumbersome, simply because of the fact that one has to go through an approval process while submitting the application in the beginning, as well as for any consecutive updates. Let's talk about discoverability now. Anyone can find your mobile site by searching or by clicking on the hyperlinks. A good search engine optimization coupled with a good marketing strategy would most definitely increase potential visitors. But discoverability of apps largely depend on your marketing strategy within the App Store. Revenue sharing is quite interesting. I don't know how familiar everyone is with the business model of App Store, but any amount of revenue you generate from an app, you have to share it with the App Store. To be more precise, 30% with Apple and 20% with RIM. On the other hand, every single dollar you generate from the mobile web is yours to keep. You don't have to share it with anyone. Lastly, push notification. With apps, one can send push notifications which, when done properly, leads to better overall experience. From a marketing standpoint, push notification is very important. One example would be the push notifications in a retail application. Even if you have totally forgotten about an app, when you receive push notifications about sales or a deal, it makes you want to view it, which in turn leads to their application, and who knows that you might end up purchasing something. This does not hold true for the mobile sites. As mentioned earlier, we at Usability Sciences conducted a pilot research about user experience in mobile site versus native apps. We came up with some interesting facts about user expectations and how they use mobile sites and apps. Let's take a moment to look over some of the best practices common to both. It's quintessential that branding experience should be consistent across applications and mobile web simply because it builds customer loyalty. Let's take a look at the general website for Best Buy and their mobile app. The color and theme used as well as the navigation structure is consistent between the normal website and the app. And it's not just the look and feel. If you had placed an order from the web version, you would be able to access the same information with the native app and vice versa. Ideally, it should have a synergistic relation with each other, because your mobile site or native app is an extension of your brand. In the day and age of Google, your app or mobile site should have intuitive search and browse. In our pilot study, whenever users were asked to find a product, they immediately resorted to first using the search if present or to quickly browse through the categories as soon as possible. Affordance and visual cue plays a crucial role in the overall performance. Let's take an example of Bluebird's native application. Although there is a functionality to search for a particular company for stock prices, the search field doesn't look intuitive. I got confused the first time I saw and coincidentally found a blog by Alexander Kormakov where he suggests a different design approach. Here in the second suggested screenshot, the search field is much more intuitive than the first one. Therefore, make sure your mobile application or site makes it easy for the users to search or browse to the different categories. Macy's does a good job of presenting categories as seen on the right. Having a search field in the homepage would definitely be a positive move. Visual cue and affordance is much more important in the mobile space because now we have so many touch functionalities and gestures that a lot of people don't realize. Did you know that you can shake your iPhone to refresh Facebook app when open? I didn't know that. One thing we've seen quite a lot is developers taking a shortcut and mixing different types of experiences. You open up a mobile site or an app and try to purchase something, and all of a sudden you're redirected to a totally different page. That is a definite no. Make sure that you have a fully functional checkout process before you roll out your mobile site or an app. This would enhance the overall experience, make the process a lot efficient, and will also help decrease the dropout rate. The first example shown here is from Finish Line. Once you hit the Add to Cart button in the application, it opens up a normal web page, which first of all, it's hard to see in a mobile screen. Then you have so many doubts, like did it add an item to the cart from the previous page? Do I need to check my cart? Should I proceed to checkout? So doubts leads to dropouts, so it's advisable not to confuse users. In the second example, although not ideal, Barnes & Noble at least pops up a message about leaving the application before opening the mobile optimized checkout page. However, we still recommend having a consolidated experience without having to leave where the user started, whether it's a mobile site or an app. One thing that makes or breaks a mobile site or an app is navigation. If a user can easily navigate within the site and finds whatever he or she is looking for, the experience would be relatively good. But once that balance is disturbed, users tend to have negative experience with the site or an app and may abandon the use altogether, which might lead to having a negative overall branding experience. Having the same navigation mechanism across services help user orient themselves and allows them to identify navigation mechanisms more easily. Design navigation keeping in mind that users will probably be using their fingers to click. Therefore, providing ample pixels for a clickable link is vital. These are some of the examples of intuitive navigation. Macy's, Amazon, and Target all does a good job of categorizing items and presenting it intuitively. Mobile device is not something people share with others. It's a personal device. Therefore, having users logged in at all times takes the hassle away from re-logging in each time you open up an app. Another advantage of keeping the users signed in is that you as a business can deliver personalized recommendations. However, banking application would be one area where you don't really want to keep the users signed in even though if they've closed an app. As shown, Amazon and Macy's, to name a few, does a good job of keeping the users logged in. I think that's the very reason I've been making way too many purchases than I should from an Amazon app. Consider using device-specific capabilities to provide better user experience when appropriate. Let's take an example of the Yelp app, which allows users to find businesses and read reviews. For this kind of app, it makes perfect sense to tap on the GPS resource from the map application, therefore allowing better experience to the user. It's the same with Google. If you're trying to find something in Google, you might just as well find it near to where you are. So exploiting the GPS resource from an iPhone, you as a user are getting customized results for whatever you're looking for. Smartphone these days comes loaded with so many new features, which when used appropriately would definitely enhance user experience. Take games as an example. Mobile phone games have evolved so much with the advancement in mobile technologies. Tapping the functionality of accelerometer and gyroscope, user can have a surreal experience playing game in a mobile phone. Therefore, always be aware of resources that might lead to better user experience. Avoid frames. Frames does not work well with mobile devices along with a host of other usability issues. It's better not to use frames. Also, using a lot of pictures and heavy graphics slows down the site or an app considerably. Although Flash is supported by some systems, it will still slow down the content download, therefore are best to avoid. A research firm did a study about why end users were disappointed with the mobile web, and they found out that 73% were disappointed because mobile sites were too slow to load, while 51% blamed their frustration to frequent crashes and errors. It gives you one more reason to avoid heavy graphics. In the same study, when asked about if the users would access the website more often if the performance was better, 50% of the respondents said they would use it more often, which speaks for itself. No matter how well you design a mobile site or an app, unless you have an easy checkout process, you're not converting visits into dollars. Therefore, having an intuitive checkout process is very important. The first step is to allow your users to store or access credit card information via the mobile web or an app if the user is logged in. This allows faster and hassle-free checkout when designed properly. However, allowing users to check out as a guest user is equally important. As shown in the first screenshot for Users application, having a progress indicator always helps. This can help aid in going back to the previous step in case of any changes. Keep the form filling to a minimum. Be aware that filling out too much information, especially in a mobile phone, is cumbersome, and having alternative payment option is quite helpful. One of the other important things to keep in mind is to allow faster checkout for registered users, which both Amazon and AT&T's native application does well. Within minimal number of clicks, you can either buy a product from Amazon or make a payment from AT&T's native application. Being creative is a good thing, but being too creative can also lead to confusion. I got this example from the same blog by Alexander Komarov. The first screenshot is of an actual application called iFitness. The whole point of this application is the ability to keep track of one's daily weight fluctuations over time. When I first looked at the screen, I was totally dumbfounded. I really didn't know what to do. Then the blogger suggests a simplistic approach which is consistent with what consumers are used to seeing in an iPhone. Once you make that match between the user's mental model and the actual implementation, it's a lot more easier to understand and use. Now let's round it up with a brief summary. In my honest opinion, first try understanding your users, and then create a mobile strategy for the kind of experience you want your mobile customers to have. The content is of lesser value to users if you ignore the context in which it's viewed. And with the recent advancement in mobile technologies and development tools, the mobile web is at a juncture where it's becoming increasingly possible to create web-based applications behaving more like native applications. However, for now, consider using mobile-optimized sites for the following scenarios. If you're targeting a large number of potential users and possibly multiple devices across multiple platforms, if you are even remotely connected to the mobile industry in general, it's always good to have a mobile-optimized site. If the content provider does not need to exploit device-specific functionalities, it's always a safe bet to create mobile sites. So when to create a native application? It's probably not worth investing your time and resources to create a mobile site or an app if you don't even have 2 to 10% of your mobile visitors. Having said that, always be aware of any potential opportunities that might come your way. If you come up with a good mobile solution that leverages what you're already doing, give it a shot. If you have a good customer base on an iPhone for that matter, think about building a dedicated application for an iPhone than just having a mobile optimized site. Unless you have a real immediate need for using device-specific capabilities like accelerometer, camera, or GPS, where an app makes more sense, stick with mobile sites. For most cases, it's always a safe bet to start off with a mobile optimized site since the development cost is relatively cheap and has a greater potential market. Also, with mobile sites, discoverability is much higher than the native application. As far as marketing goes, if you want to exploit the recent hype for apps mania, apps are certainly the way to market your product or brand. We're almost out of time, so I'm going to end this presentation with a list of best practices to keep in mind while creating a mobile optimized site or an application. This was a very brief review. Accommodating everything in a 25-minute session is nearly impossible. We hope we were able to answer some of your questions. If you want to dig deeper, give us a call or send us an email. Our email address is info@usabilitysciences.com. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you in our November webinar.